What is up, guys? Winner Kills here. Welcome to a brand new discussion video. Today I want to go ahead and make a video basically just talking about side decking and side decking in general, this format more specifically. But anyways, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started with this video. As you can see, these are, in my opinion, my top picks for side deck cards this format. So I've managed to pull out 9 different cards. These top 5 here are probably like my go-to, but I've pulled out some of these honorable mentions as well. I guess they could all just be up here too. I guess it doesn't matter. So we have just 2 monsters, 4 spells, and 5 traps to talk about. So let's go ahead and look at the first card here. Basically, it's Cursed Seal of the Forbidden Spell. I think this card is just great all around. This card is a lot better than Anti-Spell or Imperial Order, I guess, in the fact that it doesn't hinder you from activating any spells, and you also don't have to worry about paying the 700 every standby phase, which in the new time rule right now could actually screw you over pretty darn bad. The other thing versus Anti-Spell is that this Cursed Seal card has a long-lasting thing. Like, it's going to last the entire length of the duel. Let's say you're playing against Brandish. If you flip up that Anti-Spell, they might be stopped for a turn. Same thing with, like, a Droll Bird, perhaps, which is another great card to be siding this format anyways. It's a whole different story, but I should throw it in here anyways. But this card has a long-lasting, game-lasting effect, and it will keep that spell unusable for the remainder of that duel. So hitting up the, you know, Sky Striker Start of Engage or Mobilize Engage, whatever it's called, or maybe you just, the Widow Anchor really hurts you in that matchup, Cursed Seal that card away. And if your deck plays plenty of spells, why the hell not throw this in there in the mirror match, or, you know, whatever it may be. But anyways, I think, you know, Cursed Seal is a great side deck card, especially if you don't have Anti-Spell, or Anti-Spell doesn't really fit the deck you're playing. Cursed Seal works just as well. Let's go to the next card. This is a card that I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with this format, and maybe not realize it's actually pretty decent right now. Let me just organize these so we got it into monster spells and traps. I guess we'll put this over here. But Forbidden Lance, basically target one face-up monster in the field. This turn, that target loses 800 attack, but is unaffected by the other effects of spells and traps. So this card, I think, has a lot of utility, especially against True Draco and against Brandish, which obviously I made this video to encompass some of the better decks of the format, because I feel like that's what people need. You know, side decking help in the most part is against obviously the top tier decks of this current format. So Forbidden Lance, you know, the Widow Anchor, primarily any True Draco trap card, Apocalypse, Return, this card could prove to be very, very good against. Same thing with Forbidden Dress. Maybe you don't want to lose 800 attack, but you're fine with maybe dropping a 600 attack. I know in Photon Galaxy, I was thinking about side decking these cards in heavily, strictly because the monsters have like such high attack, as is the 800 difference or the 600 difference at the end of the day doesn't really make or break you. Forbidden Lance, Forbidden Dress, you know, Forbidden Dress obviously making that one target not being able to be targeted or destroyed by card effects for the rest of the turn. Obviously this is for the rest of the turn as well. So the long turn lasting effects to keep your monster protected from spells or traps, or just targeting and destruction period, which is very, very good against some decks. And then another card here is just Shared Ride. As you can see, these are all quick plays. Shared Ride, basically this card saw plenty of play during the Necroz format. The infamous Max Ride. You get Maxied, you get Shared Ride. You might as well be just donezo right there. But obviously, after this card resolves, each time your opponent adds a card from their deck to the grave to their hand this turn with a card effect, except by drawing them, you immediately get to draw a card. You can only activate 1 Shared Ride a turn. So I think this card is great against Goki. They get to add back a lot of stuff from grave. They add a lot of stuff from deck. I think it's obviously great against Brandish. It could also be very good against True Draco, because that deck does do quite a bit of searching. I guess you could argue more drawing than searching, so maybe not the greatest against True Draco, I can see that, but overall, Shared Ride, a very, very good side deck card right now. And then this is another personal choice of mine that a couple of Discord members helped me come up with. Hey Trunade. So basically, return all set spells and traps on the field to the hand. I think going second against Brandish, since they just love to have all their cards set during your turn, especially some of the cards they set back might get banished, especially because if they leave the field, they will get banished. So that might force out some cards they don't want to activate. You just play this card, return all those cards to the hand, the Widow Anchors, the Eagle Boosters, the Shark Torpedo thing, I forget what its name is, but return all those to the hand. They either use them or lose them, etc., etc. And I found in Mermails, if you have to go second against that deck, this is a fantastic card to put in. Or maybe you just want to be able to pop off one turn, get an unbreakable board going, something at least they'll have a very hard time breaking. You just need to get some of those set cards off the field. Again, use them or lose them. It gives them that, you know, that pinpoint decision that they have to make, and I think this card's a very good card right now. We already talked about Curse Seal. Goes and Match and Rivalry, these cards go hand in hand in my opinion. Obviously both continuous. Goes and Match, I think is great going against the Goki deck, strictly because they can only control one attribute. I know all the nightmares have different colors. Obviously Firewall Dragon being a different color, like, you know, you got fire, earth, light, dark, probably. You got a whole spew of different things. Goes and Match could be argued to be pretty well usable too. I guess water would be another card, and this card is very sideable into, I guess, especially for example I'll give as Mermail. Basically all of my cards I play are either going to be Sea Serpent that are on the board, especially if I'm in that side deck state where I'm relying on this card to give me that advantage I need. And then Goes and Match, everything is pretty much water for the most part, so don't really have to worry too much there into, you know, what I'm going to be summoning into. These are just cards that go hand in hand right now. I think they're both pretty decent, maybe not the best, but they both could play a pretty decent role this format if this card fits your deck, and you think, you know, yeah, I've pretty much got all the same attributes no matter what I'm doing. Goes and Match might be the best card for you. Anti-Spell Fragments, of course. Spell Hate right now, this format is very, very good. And then Waking the Dragon I think is fantastic, because basically if you're playing in a deck that the extra deck does not matter for you, you know, like True Draco, I guess, would be the best example. If you're playing against Brandish, they happen to pop your Goes and Match, or not your Goes and Match, you're Waking the Dragon, you get to summon out an Ultimate Falcon for free. And then at that point, what are they going to do against a 3500 Ultimate Falcon unaffected by card effects? I don't know, you tell me. Of course, Waking the Dragon is a well-known card, but I think it's definitely a good side deck card to have this format. And then we have Raw Sphere Mode. This card is great for breaking huge boards. Spiral Nightmare, Goki Nightmare, maybe not the greatest, of course, against a deck like Brandish, but this card very, very good just to get those cards off the field. Obviously, you know, Goki Nightmare is a very, very strong deck. I think this card is fantastic right now against that deck. And then we have Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. This card is, I think, probably one of the best hand traps to side along with Droll and Lockbird, strictly because, not Droll Bird, but Droll and Lockbird. I think this card just, it has that same ability that, you know, a card like Curse Seal does. This card is just lasting the entire game. You don't have to worry about them, you know, you're stopping them for one turn, and then the next turn they have those cards available to them again. It is lasting the entire game. You're playing against Goki, you hit the Firewall Dragon or the Isolde, you know, whatever fits you in that situation. Or perhaps you're playing against Brandish, you hit the Kagari out of the extra deck. Very, very painful to deal with, especially when it's lasting, of course, the entire game is rather just a one turn. Droll Lockbird, I guess I could throw in here as well and talk about it, because this card is a lot better than Ash, in my opinion, because ashing one play could just be a bait. You know, I know my opponent might have a hand trap if they have Ash Blossom, great, whatever, but they go to, of course, you know, play a card, they search, and then as soon as they do that, or they even draw, you know, you just get to draw and lock them, and then their turn is pretty much ending right there. A couple examples, obviously against Goki Nightmare, you hit him with a Droll Bird, their turn pretty much ends. Against Brandish, you hit him with a Droll Bird, their turn pretty much ends. Even against True Draco, Droll and Lockbird proves to be a very, very good card. Obviously, Called by the Grave is another card that exists that can be, of course, used to counter a card like this. But I think right now, I'm not going to go too in-depth, but I think these are some great side deck cards this format. Hate Shunade is like one of my favorite, and so are the Forbidden Lance and the Dress. And I think Droll and Lockbird is fantastic as well. I pretty much covered cards to side against things like True Draco, Brandish, Goki, Spiral Nightmare, I guess. Another card I could bring up is this card right here. Where is it? Summoning Limits. Need to find this card. This card is also really cool right now. Summoning Limit. Basically, neither player can summon more than 2 times per turn. Negated summons count toward this limit. Negated card effects that would summon do not count. This card is very, very cool. I love this card against, obviously, a deck like Spiral Nightmare, Goki Nightmare. Perhaps not the greatest against Brandish. In some cases, it could hurt them. Maybe if they're playing a Trickstar variant, this card's a little better because they do use normal summons a little bit more. Yeah, this, again, food for thought if you didn't know this card existed. If you didn't know some of these cards were that decent in the format right now, I guess I did my job in what I wanted to do. I think there's another card. It was called like Link Belt Dragon. Someone else had brought this up to me. We'll talk about this real quick. Link Belt Wall Dragon. I'll just throw this in here the last minute just to see what you guys think about this. Cannot be normal summon set. Must be special summoned by its own effect. When you link summon, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, place 2 counters on it. If a monster is link summoned, remove 2 of these counters from this card, or all if less than 2. Once per turn during each standby phase, place 1 of these counters on this card. No monster can be link summoned unless this card has at least as many of these counters as that monster's link rating. Monsters cannot attack except link monsters, so you can summon this thing out in 2100 defense. Let's say it has 2 counters on it, or 1 counter. Of course, 1 counter gets placed on it during each standby phase, but if it starts off with 2 counters or 1 counter, say when a monster is link summoned, remove 2 of these counters, so it goes down to 0 at that point. Because if you do place 2 counters on if something is link summoned, let's say you link summon something and that's 1 card you want to link summon, maybe it's a Nightmare Griffin, just to round out your play. Perhaps it drops the 2 counters, then your opponent can't link summon at all because it has no counters on it. The standby is to get 1, and then they can't really link. They can't make a link monster other than link 1. So that's pretty rough to deal with. This is, I don't think it's great, but I think it's interesting. I think somebody in my Discord had brought this card up to me, so I guess that's all I have to say here. If I was able to help you guys out in any way, shape, or form, I did my job. And leave a like if you enjoyed. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below about some of the cards I had listed here today. If you've got any spicy side deck techs, go ahead and throw them down in the comment section below. I'm sure I and others would be really glad to hear them. So go ahead and, like I said, throw those down in the comment section. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. As always, WinterKill signing out. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Hope you're having a great day.
Mm-hmm.